Elephant. The African savanna elephant, Loxodonta africana, and the African forest elephant, however, are two distinct species that were discovered in scientific research in 2001. Loxodonta cyclodus. The main morphological distinctions between the two elephant species are that the African forest elephant is more slender, slightly smaller, and has straighter, smaller tusks as well as ears that are more rounded. In 37 nations south of the Sahara Desert, savanna zones are home to African savanna elephants. The Sri Lankan, Indian, Sumatran, and Malaysian subspecies of Asian elephants exist. The traits of each of these subspecies vary significantly, and many are hard to tell apart. Elephants from Sri Lanka are frequently thin, have longer ears, and lack tusks in many males. Sumatran elephants are significantly stockier, Malaysian elephants are a little smaller in stature, and Indian elephants typically have lighter skin. Pygmy elephants have reportedly been spotted in Borneo, although nothing is known about them because of the area's deep forest and difficulty getting to. Burmese elephants are not considered to be a separate species, despite the fact that they frequently have thick manes and darker skin tones. There are currently only 3 members of the taxonomic order Proboscidea, which once included more than 40 elephant species. The majority of these flourished up to the last glacial period's conclusion, which occurred 12,500 years ago. Although there were tiny dwarf elephants and the enormous Deinotherium, which stood 15 feet, 4.5 meters, tall and weighed 30,000 pounds, these creatures were typically about the size of contemporary Asian elephants, 14 tons. Modern elephants and the well-known mammoths are members of the mastodon family Mammutidae within the phylum Proboscidea. Mastodons resemble African elephants the most, whereas mammoths most closely resemble Asian elephants. Even than contemporary Asian elephants, mammoths were much hairier and had long, curving tusks. The woolly mammoth was the last mammoth to become extinct. Its numbers had decreased as the climate warmed and were finally wiped out throughout Europe, Asia, and the Americas 12,000 years ago. However, certain populations that were not in contact with people continued to exist as recently as 4,000 years ago. Although the rock hyrax is the elephant's closest living relative, manatees and rhinoceroses are also near relatives. Communications. Elephants are gregarious animals that depend on communication to survive. Elephants can produce a very wide spectrum of sounds, 10 octaves, but they mostly use low-frequency noises known as rumbling to communicate. Elephants can actually create and hear noises that are 1 to 2 octaves below the range of human hearing. Their range of communication is wide because lower-frequency sounds travel farther than their higher-frequency counterparts. Additionally, based on the pitch of another elephant's cry, elephants can estimate the distance between them. The higher tones will fade out as the sound travels farther, leaving a lower pitch. Elephants produce these subsonic rumbles, which may travel through the ground quicker than sound via air, to communicate across great distances, according to recent research. Through the delicate skin on their feet and trunks, other elephants are able to hear the signals. It is thought that this is how social groups and possible mates interact. Mating and must. Only elephants are known to possess a temporal gland. The elephant enters the must behavioral state when this gland becomes active. Must, originally a Persian word, refers to a condition of intoxication, mirth, ecstasy, desire, or lust in the languages of northern India. Elephants only experience the condition known as must, which has no known scientific cause. Male elephants that are sexually mature and between the ages of 20 and 50 are typically affected. It happens once a year and lasts between 2 and 3 weeks in the wild, usually during the hot season. The elephant becomes extremely agitated, aggressive, and potentially dangerous during this time. When in the full swing of must, even ordinarily calm animals have been known to murder humans and other elephants. In captivity, it typically lasts 4 to 6 weeks, however it has been reported to last up to 2 months. Its prevalence is not entirely understood as to why. Although the animal exhibits sexual agitation, must is not exclusively regarded to be sexual in nature. Elephants do not mate during the must season, which is different from the rutting season that certain other mammals experience. A gland above the eye releases a pungent, oily substance while an elephant is in must, and elephants also dribble pee continuously. The elephant's temporal gland discharge can flow pretty freely and drop down their chin as it runs down their face. Everything about an elephant changes while they are in must, including how they move, how they interact with other elephants, how aggressive they are, and, as was already noted, how they smell. In exceptional cases, a struggle between 2 male elephants in must might end in a fight to the death. The effects of excessive must on an elephant's typical behavior are difficult to explain. Elephants kept in captivity for must are typically securely chained or kept apart and monitored from a distance until the pain passes, at which point they will resume their normal behavior. To stop them from lunging with their heads and swinging their trunks at trainers, male captive elephants in must have traditionally been chained by all 4 legs, from their tusks to their feet, and from tusk to tusk in front of their trunks. Must generally decreases from the ages of 45 to 50 until completely disappearing. A kind of must has occasionally been observed in females, although nothing is known about its function. Males typically do not reach sexual activity until they are 14 to 15 years old, and even then, they are not capable of the social dominance that is typically required for successful reproductive activity. Sexual maturity can occur in both sexes as early as 9 years of age. Males typically compete with one another for females who are in estrus. Non-must males will typically back off from competition if a male in must is present among females in estrus. The quantity of testosterone in a must male provides an unsurpassed degree of rage, aggression, and strength. The area where a female is ready to breed is frequently surrounded by several males, and only the most dominant male is allowed to conduct breeding. If there is a clear size and strength disparity, this can be settled amicably. Otherwise, the elephants may engage in conflict over the ritual. Infant mortality in captive bred elephants. In zoos, elephant neonatal mortality is roughly 3 times higher than it is in the wild. A startling 40% of baby elephants in zoos die before their first birthday. This figure has a number of underlying causes, one of which being the elephant herpes virus, EEHV, which is especially fatal in young elephants under the age of 10. The virus, which is thought to transmit by contact, can lie dormant for years before erupting suddenly to kill internal organs in a matter of hours. The virus is currently inactive, and no test has been created to find it. According to a new notion, the dormant virus may already be present in elephant bodies. When it activates, the virus can spread through contact or from mother to calf during pregnancy. Elephants are being moved all across the country in an effort to produce the ideal offspring, which just makes the issue worse. As of 2012, this illness has been documented in more than a dozen zoos around the US. There are additional causes of calf deaths that have a psychological component. Elephants kept in captivity are not part of a caring herd where they can naturally help raise young and pass on their wisdom and experiences to future generations. Certain elephants just do not understand how to care for their young, and in some cases, moms have been known to kill their own calves, a behavior that has never been observed in the wild. Because of this, several institutions chain the moms during delivery in order to protect the calf and carefully observe their relationships. When the mother behaves badly toward the calf or is unwilling to nurse, calves may occasionally be taken away from their moms and supplemented with bottle feeding. Females in captivity may breed much younger than they would in the wild. Due to her inexperience, the young mother may find it difficult to properly care for her calf, which could threaten both the calves and mother's health. Intelligence. Some of the smartest creatures on Earth include elephants. They have the biggest brains of all land animals, 5 kilograms, by far. With the exception of whales, their brains have more intricate folds, which is thought to have a significant role in their intelligence. They frequently exhibit outstanding learning ability, sadness, humor, compassion, cooperation, self-awareness, tool use, and fun. In Korea, a zoo elephant stunned its caretakers by effectively learning 8 phrases and their meaning on its own and mimicking their verbal directions using the end of its trunk. Elephants have the most developed hippocampus, the part of the brain in charge of emotions and spatial awareness, of any animal, and research shows that they are better than humans in tracking several objects in 3 dimensions. There are numerous accounts of elephants displaying charity toward other animals, such saving imprisoned canines at great personal expense. They practice death ceremonies and respect their deceased. There are tales of human-killed elephant herds recovering stolen remains and bringing them back to the scene of the crime to be buried. There are also stories of elephants entering the hamlet of the person who killed a herd member's victim and inflicting minimal or no harm on everyone else but the offender. Elephants in captivity can learn to pick simple locks with ease, and many of them can master more complicated ones, which is unachievable for most other animals due to a lack of dexterity and intelligence. This is in addition to their capacity to learn through observation and imitation. In Asia, working elephants are equipped with bells to aid their mahouts in finding them at night. Elephants have occasionally been known to load their bellies with muck to stifle their movements and enable them to sneak into nearby rice, corn, and sugar cane crops. Elephant population in the wild. 25,600 to 32,750 Asian elephants, 250,000-350,000 Savannah elephants, and 50,000 to 140,000 forest elephants are thought to exist in the wild. The numbers from various studies vary, but the conclusion is always the same: our elephants are going extinct in the wild. According to one study, poaching caused the number of African elephants to decline by 50%, from 1.3 million to 600,000, between 1979 and 1989. Up until the site's ivory embargo in 1989, about 8 elephants per hour, 70,000 per year, were poached during this time. The largest study ever undertaken in the Central African forest, where elephants are being poached to extinction, was conducted by 60 experts and published in the journal PLOS1. This study has its own findings. According to their research, between 2002 and 2011, 62% of Central African forest elephants disappeared. Asian elephants aren't any better off. Over the past 60 to 75 years, the population is thought to have decreased by at least 50%. Asian elephants are also in a struggle for survival, even though the population reduction and poaching of African elephants receive greater attention. The IUCN has given them the endangered status, International Union for Conservation of Nature. Due to habitat loss, degradation, and fragmentation, the population of Asian elephants has drastically decreased during the last few generations. Asian elephants are also targeted for poaching for their flesh, leather, and ivory. Additionally, when elephants interact with the local human population, many of them are murdered.